What's up, everybody? Michael Johnson here with the Business Choreography Podcast. And today we have a very special guest joining us on the show. Today we have Travis Hatch. Travis owns a video production company called Travis Hawks Media based in Denver, Colorado. He does mainly brand videos, short form content, and documentaries, and they help businesses grow with high quality video, and they help them make money, save time, and get more customers. Guys, this is all the stuff that we need to know about these days. We are so excited to have him on the show. So let's cue the intro and we'll jump right in. Listen, there's a lot to learn when growing and scaling your business.
That's why we created the Business Choreography Podcast, where we talk about choreographing your marketing, operations, and sales into dynamic systems that increase your revenue and your impact.
We'll explore solid business principles and discuss all things that make businesses dance to success with clarity.
We'll help you figure out where the holes are in your business and what you can do to fix them. Think of us as your official business choreographers, aka your insider growth strategists.
Remember, your choreography matters. Welcome to the Business Choreography Podcast. Travis, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks to you. Yeah, thank you for having me. That intro made me feel super official.
You are official. You're officially here.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I love it. I love it. Well, welcome to the show. Our listeners know that I love to talk about your journey and your backstory and how you got to this point doing the thing that you're doing. So let's dig in a little bit. Don't leave out any of the juicy details. And let's talk about some of the ups and downs of getting to this point.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of ups and downs, I think, to any sort of entrepreneurial endeavor. And this type of industry is definitely the same. You want me to just kind of give you like the backstory of how I got into all of this?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, I started getting into like photography, videography when I was in like high school, basically. And just doing kind of like little videos here and there. What I lived out of the country for like a year and a half, kind of like that, like after college. I spent a bunch of time traveling, lived out of the country, and that's when I like really got into video. I was doing little like travel videos and stuff like that on social media, and just like really, because I did some photography when I was younger and I liked it, but it was never like that thing, I guess.
Right.
When I started doing video, I was like, oh wow, this is a whole other, like, it just really became like one of my like favorite things to do.
Sure.
But I honestly, I don't know, I feel like I was kind of trapped in that American mindset of like, go to college, get a job, work in an office type of thing.
Right.
To the point where I just never really thought that you could like do something fun that you like to do, like as a career, I was like, oh yeah, it's work. It's supposed to be work. Like, so it was always just kind of like I don't know, like a hobby, I guess. And then what kind of started changing it for me is like, I had friends that were working in like the video, industry, like this type of industry. And I saw them being like very successful. Like they were doing really well. They were, enjoying what they were doing, and their careers were like going really well. So I think that kind of like started it, started this idea in my mind. But I still I was living in California. I was working at like a startup, running, I was head of like sales for this startup in California. And I'd been doing like working in marketing and sales and stuff like that for years. And then when I first got like the real idea that I could do this type of thing, was like at the startup, everyone wears like a ton of hats, like you do like a ton of different roles.
Right.
And so I started kind of like managing the social media account. And then as part of that, at these different events and stuff, I would start like shooting videos and kind of like editing little videos together. And I remember the CEO, like I was like putting one of them together, and he came up to me. He's like, wow, that's really good. Like, he's like, I think you missed your calling, or one of those, like sayings or whatever. And I remember thinking, I was like, I don't know, maybe I didn't, I can like, you can do anything you want. Like, yeah, maybe I'll do this. And then, but still, yeah, I was working the job, working at this company, started doing more and more video stuff, kind of like on the side or like as a hobby or whatever. And then, 2020 happened, and
Right.
there was obviously a big event, and our company went bankrupt basically,
Wow.
one of the companies that like went under during the whole pandemic thing. So yeah, it was kind of like a moment where one Monday morning I like logged in, started working, and then I got a call from my boss and he was like, "Hey, like shut your laptop. Like we can't pay you. The company is,
Wow.
is shut down." Um, and yeah, it was kind of like out of nowhere. And so, like first thoughts that you have, something like that is like, "Oh man, like what am I gonna do?" Um, but the like literal second thought that I had, I was like, I don't want to like work for anyone anymore. Like
Right.
that was honestly where the idea for my business came from. Was I realized like I do not want like some a huge majority of the like things that make me unhappy in my life, I think, are coming from just the act of working for anyone. It's not like I liked everyone I worked with.
Right.
It's just the act of like not being in charge. I just it took that kind of event for me to realize like that's not what I want to be doing.
Right.
So it was kind of like I make a lot of decisions in life like this, like just spontaneous, like, hey, let's do it, let's go all in on this thing. But yeah, that's how it went. Like I
Wow.
basically realized like, hey, I don't want to work for anybody else. I'm like, what could I do? Like I want to start a business. What could I do? And then, I have this thing that I'm doing that I enjoy doing. Like I love all of the kind of grind aspects of it, like all of the long, like hard, tedious things I still like. Um,
Right.
and I see a clear pathway for success because I have like very close friends that are doing it. I can just kind of like walk in their steps. Yeah. And so I just kind of decided like, all right, I'm just going to go all in on this. I'm not going to look for a job. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I'm just going to spend all of my time focusing on this. And that's what I did.
Man, that is such a huge thing, and I want to point this out to our listeners right now because they've probably either experienced it or are toying with the in between space. I'll call it the gray area. But right there at the end, you said, "So I decided I was going to put in all of my time on this." And I can't tell you the number of times I've talked to an entrepreneur or somebody in business, or that they're messing around with the idea of doing it, and they're collecting their tools in their toolbox, and they're building this little piece here, or they spend 2 hours, or they'll choose a day that they're going to work on it, and then they come back to me months later and say, well, I just don't understand why this isn't working and it's not progressing. And I said, well, how many days did you spend on it this week? And they're like, one. And I said, how many hours did you spend in that one day? And they're like, oh, I put in a ton of hours. Well, what did you do? Well, I put in like 3 hours. Like, you spent 3 hours
Yeah.
one day this week and you're wondering
Yeah.
why your business hasn't taken off. So I think it's just such a huge element that you just said. You decided you were going to just take the leap, and you were going to put all your time in it and not go get another job and just go after it. I love that so much. And I think that's such a huge key element for our listeners, and regardless of if you're in business already or you're starting a business, if you're in business already, I feel like that's a key element too, for really making the next thing you're going to do work, is that you're going to take that, you're going to put all your time in it, and you're going to go make that thing work. And I just love that, and you can hear it in your story, and you can hear it kind of in the journey that you're going on, and I think that's really cool. Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned along the way in the story, you mentioned the grind. You said, I still even like the grind of it. And I think, I mean, there's something to that. There's something to it.
Oh
I
yeah.
It's huge. Talk to me a little bit more about that element of still liking and enjoying the grind of doing what you do.
Yeah. Is your audience, like your listener base, are there a lot of people who are like new entrepreneurs and like, or like looking to get into like starting a business type of thing? Or is it more like experienced people?
No, we kind of have a mix of both.
Mix of both. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause that this is like, I mean, this will be something where if you are in it, if you're in it like fully, you'll either like 100%, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, or or maybe it might help you like realize you need to change some things. And
Well,
then,
there's those
yeah,
people that think they are in it 100% and they'll
right.
hear this now and go, "Oh, maybe
Yeah. But
maybe I'm
especially, yeah, for the people who are thinking about who are like, because like that's kind of like where I was for a little bit there. I was like, man, I do not want to work at this job anymore. I want to work for myself, but I don't know what to do. One of the biggest, because like I always get like analysis paralysis trying to make
sure."
decisions.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest key elements that you can have for making a decision of like what you want to do is how do you feel about the like day-to-day work, you know? Like there's always going to be like for instance, in video production stuff, video editing is a thing where it takes a lot of time and it can be kind of frustrating. So like if you want to get into this industry, um it's like, yeah, think about those little like elements that cause like pain, I guess, like if you still enjoy doing them. I think that that's like a key thing to think about when you're trying to make a decision, because there's always going to be things where it's like, oh, I love the victories, like I love what I get like when I win, but like you don't win, you're not always winning, you know, like
Right.
winning is like just a thing that happens after like a lot of work, and you can't just be like waiting for those. So it's like the day-to-day like work, the day-to-day like the things that like take a long time to do that you're like grinding at. If you enjoy those, that's really like that's kind of, it's not just like, oh, your life will be better. It's like if you don't enjoy those, it's going to be really hard to succeed at what you're doing,
Right.
is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So this is the best, this is like the best, my favorite analogy for this basically is like the gym. If you are trying to get in shape and you think like the only way I can get in shape is running, but I hate running, like a lot of people do. Like, first of all, you're wrong. And second of all, like you're never going to get in shape. There's a
Right.
million other things that you can do. Do you like
Right.
swimming? Do you like playing tennis? Do you like, hiking, like whatever it is, like if you find something that you enjoy the grind, like, oh, I really love lifting weights. I don't care if I get in shape. I just love lifting weights. Well, guess what? The outcome of what you're doing is you will then get in shape. You know what I'm saying? So when you're like looking for like the thing to do, I think it's better to focus on like what is the thing that I love the journey, like I love the day-to-day tasks, and then the success will just come. It's like an equation. Like if you're doing the 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 like tasks, like the steps that it takes over and over and over again because you like to do those, then the success is going to come. But if you're just like pushing for success and you hate that day to day, then your life is going to be miserable and the success isn't really going to come. So it's
Right.
like yeah, it's kind of like a simple concept, but I think one that so many people like overlook is just like, yeah, what's like the day-to-day actions that you love doing. um yeah.
I think it's huge and such a maybe misrepresented part due to the current climate of social media and the way people talk and show things off. It's like there's this sort of uh fake version of entrepreneurship, and yet when some of those successful people lift the veil and you go, "Oh my, their desk looks just like my desk." Holy cow. Like I thought they didn't have to do that kind of stuff. And there's just maybe a misconception of what it's like. But I think it's true though, if you can
Yeah.
just realize, hey, I love doing this stuff, then the victories are even sweeter. I think
Yeah,
it's
totally. Yeah, I mean, you could even, and you can kind of apply that like to anything. Like let's say you're you're not doing like the type of like endeavor that I'm doing. You're, like a business owner or CEO or something. You're running like any sort of company. I think a lot of the pain that comes from scaling and that sort of thing comes from like people just like not doing the right things. Like let's say podcasting, you like love doing podcasting, you love doing like communication and stuff like that. Well, maybe you should be doing like those activities, and you should have like a partner that handles all of the like administration type of work. You know what I mean? Like if, yeah, there's just, it's like, like if you can put yourself in a position where you're doing the things that you, and like if you enjoy the hard things, I guess is a good way of saying it. Whatever hard things you enjoy doing, that is a good position to be in.
I love that. Let's jump into the weeds a little bit on what you're doing with Travis Hawk's Media, and let's talk about some of the topics in there, like brand videos and short form content, documentaries. I'd love to know the state of the union from someone who's in it and really 100% focused on that area, because I think a lot of people know they need that stuff, but they're not sure where the state of the union is, and things seem to change so fast. For a while documentaries seemed to be all the rage, and then for a while it was like, oh, we need our brand videos, and then it was like, oh, content is the thing, and if you don't have short content, you're missing the boat. And now it seems as though maybe all of it is just necessary. And how do we decide? I mean, I just threw a bunch at you, but let's chat about those different types of content that you create, and how we can know when we need it and how much of it we need, and that type of
Yeah,
it's a challenge, I think.
totally. No, it is a challenge. Yeah. And I don't know. I think one good thing to think about is just kind of like, this is actually going to become a trend, or it is like becoming a trend. I think you'll notice, but I don't know what, like one thing to think about is just kind of like slow down a little bit, like relax a little bit, you know?
Sure.
If you spend your life like feverishly chasing trends, like in circles,
Yeah.
it's just not a great way to be, you know, like you got to start. So like the one thing that's not like a trend is, uh, the internet, right? Like, so
Right.
like the internet and social media, those things are not a trend. They're not going anywhere. The fact that your digital presence, your digital personality is almost more real than your real life personality. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, however
Right.
you want to look at it, is honestly just like not a trend.
Right.
Um, unless, you know, one of the like one of these crazy like end of the world movies that have been coming out, unless something like that happens and we lose electricity for, you know, and we go into the dark ages or something, then things will be different. But modern society, the way that it is, your digital presence being a, like I said, almost more real than your real life presence, depending on how you want to define it, is a thing that is a it's just a thing. It's just a fact of like life at this point. And so that is really the only thing I would say, like, you know, just kind of like take a step back from all of the like insanity for a bit, and just kind of like, you know, realize that and focus on that in terms of like, so what I mean by that is like, if somebody's looking to work with you, you should understand that they're going to go online and like make a decision, you know? The, so if you have like zero presence online, there are some exceptions to this. There are some exceptions to the rule. But if you have like zero presence online, then just, you know, no one's going to know about you. No one's really going to like do business with you the way that you could. Things have changed, like um, services, products, buyers buy them today. You're not selling anything. You're not like selling to, you know what I mean? You're like, you're not selling to someone, they're buying from you. That's really like the way, you know, an important like distinction, an important way to think about it. Um, so you have to just present your digital presence in a way that somebody would want to buy from you. And you said earlier, uh, I can't remember if it was on the episode or before we were talking or whatever. You said, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust, right?
Right.
So in today's world, that's really the opportunity that you have, is like people who have never met you can know, like, and trust you. I have like tons of people that don't really know me necessarily, but they feel like they know me because they're always interacting with me online and they're
Right.
seeing what I'm doing. My Instagram account has a lot of like personal branding. They feel like they're kind of getting to know me. And that's really the thing. It's like, you know, what you'll see a lot of businesses like Instagram accounts, for instance, and it's like just like a wall of kind of like graphic posts. It's like one kind of like thing, and I don't know how to describe it. It's like a wall of kind of like graphic posts. And their Instagram just looks like a poster kind of. And it looks good from the outside, but you'll notice that all those posts have like 2 likes. And the reason that isn't because you need to post more often or use hashtags or something like that. It's because you have missed the mark on the social element of social media. Like you've got the media element, but not the social element. Like there needs to be like a personal element to your social media. There needs to be like a person behind it. They need to know like, who are you? What do you do? And I think that's going to be like missing from a lot of people's stuff. So I guess to answer your question, like what exactly each person should do, is going to be like totally different based off of like, who they are. But yeah, you need to be just like presenting your online media in a way where like people feel that they can connect with it. Um, and so that's, yeah, I don't know. That's different for every platform. Um, if you want to get into like the specifics of like different platforms, we obviously
Well,
can, but
yeah. Well, let's dig into this. You mentioned that most people are missing the social element of social media, and I thought that, man, that really, I see that, and I really get what you mean. How can our business owners out there that are listening, that are trying to create brand, trying to create that social element, how can they do that without feeling like they're attached to their phone
mm,
24/7? Because on the flip side, you've got influencers who basically look like their phone is like welded into
yeah,
a selfie stick, and they're just turning it on every few
yeah,
minutes, and so I think a lot of times when I talk to business owners, they tell me this a lot. They're like, I know that I probably should have a social element to what I'm doing, but I don't want to be attached to my phone. And a lot of them are very private. They're like, you know what? I don't want to show people what's going on in my world. So how do you
yeah.
overcome that and still maybe get the same kind of result, or can you, or is that just
Yeah.
not possible?
No, you totally can. I would say in one word is education. Like that's the way to get around that is education by educating. So it is kind of important to be like, to have your account be like feeling like live, where you're like responding to comments quickly and you're chatting with people and you're reaching out and that sort of thing. But you don't, like, let's say as a business owner, you don't have to do that yourself. You can
Sure.
have someone on your team do that. Be like, reaching out to people, following people, commenting on their posts, responding to comments, posting stories, stuff like that. You don't really have to do that. So let's say, so right there, so that part of your question, outsource that to somebody else. Get a social media manager. You can get a virtual assistant to do it for super cheap, or like somebody on your team, maybe that is like, yeah, I'll spend whatever, 5 hours a week, an hour a day, just kind of like commenting and whatever. That's not like super hard. Um, and then, but so the, the biggest thing I would say is like, pick up a phone and start talking, pick up a camera and start talking into it. Like, and focus on like education. That is gonna like solve so many of your problems, and it's
Right.
super nerve-wracking at first, and like that's fine. And like say that, be like, hey,
Right.
I'm starting this series where I'm talking about this, this, and this. This is nervous to me. Like, follow along on my journey. Like I'm as I get better, whatever. Um, and it doesn't have to be like you're like, have a camera following you around, all this stuff. I'm talking about like once a week, sit down with 5 topics that you're going to talk about and talk about each one for like a minute. And either you or, like again, you outsource it to somebody else, like edit those into like little reels and post those. If you're an entrepreneur, I'm assuming you understand your business, that you
Right.
understand your client, you understand who your client is, what problems that they run into, things that they like, things they find funny, things that they're interested in, how to solve their problems, things that, they'd want to hear about, like talk about those things. And like put out that content with like your face on it. Um, and that's it. I mean, you could literally, like I said, you could sit down once a week with 5 different topics, shoot those, post, whatever, have somebody edit them, post one a day or post like, every few days, whatever, something that's like sustainable for you. And start doing that. So yeah, what I mean is like, let's say you're like like a painter. But I'll use an example of a good friend of mine. Let's say you're like a painter and you go to and you've got like a painting company. You've got like a contracting company, like a painting contracting company, and you're running it. Um, if your account is just like, whatever, a bunch of like, there's no face there. There's just a bunch of like random kind of like photo like posts or whatever. How far is that supposed to go? But if it's like there's one, like there's one post where it's like you pulling the tape off of like a window to show like a really clean line. And then in the captions, you're writing like an explanation for how to do that, like how I get these really clean lines, and you can follow along with it. And then the next post is you like talking about uh like the new paint colors that are good this year. And the next post is you explaining to the camera like another tactic, like having your face on there, educating people about painting. Um, like there's an actual person that they're looking at. There's like a person behind this account, and you're creating like that social element. So that's really what I mean. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be like showing you and your family necessarily. You know what I mean? It can just be like you educating people about the stuff that you really know about, that that they're interested in.
I love that. So doable and so actionable. Talk to us a little bit about how, if they wanted you to get in and help them to do this and to come up with that strategy and put that all together, how does that look and how would they find you and get a hold of you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like literally what I do. That's one of the big things that I do is like building consistent monthly content. Yeah, basically the way it would look is like we would meet um we would meet like a couple times a month. We would present like a bunch of ideas, like content ideas, to where you're like comfortable with it, like 10, 15 ideas, something like that. And then we would meet like once a month. We would shoot all of that, edit it for you, chop it up into reels and content, do like PDF carousel posts if needed, do photos, kind of whatever's needed based off of our conversations, and like customized analysis of your company and where you are now and like where you want to get to be. And then, yeah, we would have these like pre-production calls where we come up with all the ideas. We would have, we would agree what the ideas are. We'd meet once a week, shoot all of that, or once a month, shoot all of that, and then chop that up, edit it. And then, from there you can either handle it, or we have like partners that like can manage the social media account as well. And just basically take that all off your plate. And then especially if you have somebody like running the account and talking, it's like you've got all these posts of you talking to the camera, explaining things. They know who you are, what you look like. You're talking right to them about things that they're interested in. They're learning something. They're getting information for free. They're getting value for free. They're going to like want to follow along to that. And then, people are interacting with them. And then all of a sudden it's like a real life digital person, but you're not really actually having to do any of that, so you can save all of that time and headache and trying to figure out gear and blah, 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 blah. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Where can people find you and get in touch?
Yeah. My website is www.travishawksmedia.com. You can just hop on there. There's a contact page. Just fill out your top bar, there'll be like a contact, fill out your contact information, send that over. I'll reach out to you. Or just find me on social media. It's at Travis Hawks Media on Instagram. Just follow me there, shoot me a DM, and we can communicate. I'm also on LinkedIn as well.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. But before we let you go, can you leave us with any last words of wisdom from your journey?
Yeah, just have patience and slow down and enjoy it, because yeah, this is whatever you're doing. It's a long game. You're not gonna like have success overnight. And so if you go into it with that perspective of like, okay, I'm gonna get where I'm gonna get eventually, but I'm just gonna enjoy the journey for now. You're gonna have a much better time and probably more success as well.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Guys, all of you out there listening, don't forget, keep choreographing your business, all parts of your business, and go check out Travis Hawks Media and get some help with this stuff. It's not easy. You can't do everything, so get to it. Anyway, we'll see you guys on the next episode. And thanks again, Travis.
Thank you guys. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today.
Want more business choreography?
Check out our website at bizchoreo.com to find out more.
And find out how the choreography for your marketing, operations, and sales can raise your revenue and create more impact.
Remember, every business needs choreography.